Hello, I'm John Aldridge and I'm watching the Redmen TV.
Hello, welcome to the Redmen TV. It's the Uncensored Match Build Up show ahead of Liverpool versus Aston Villa at Anfield. The Premier League is back. We've had to endure another international break, which has been thrilling, hasn't it, Chris?
Ultimately thrilling.
Ultimately, utterly thrilling. Jack, we were talking the other day where we earlier. It feels like an age since we've actually had not just Liverpool, but obviously Liverpool and Anfield as well.
From Liverpool in general, it would have felt like an awful lot longer if we'd not got the win against Spurs. So
yes,
there is that to hang on to, and that's another reason for confidence going into the game as well. But yeah, of course, to have a home, good to have a home game as well, second of the season. So that
Southampton game, it feels like last season.
It does seem an awful long time ago. I was astonished when we came out of that game and said, "When's our next home game?" A month. What?
Jesus Christ! But I mean, I just miss it. I just really miss it. It doesn't feel like the season started because we're just not back into the routine of following the Reds.
Double deckers and
double deckers and cherry coke, like, you know what I mean? Not that we went with that. Although I did at half time go and get a double decker in the Southampton game, which seemed to work. But no, this is it though, isn't it? It doesn't feel like we're like a month into the season, and it doesn't feel like the season started yet.
No, it's not fair, man. they give you a little taste of it, and then they take it away with this biff international football. It's
Italy, they've only played the one game, haven't they? That's just cruel.
Yeah, but at least like they're used to that. They always start late in Italy, don't they? You know what I mean? So they're kind of like it's accepted. Whereas the worst thing is the fact that we start.
You might as well say, well, just let's leave it till
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But it does. We have this thing every single season. The season just starts to gear up, and then you have an international break, and we've waxed lyrical every single year about how much this does our tits in. But Chris, it's as Jack says, it's better the fact that we've gone into that break after a win. You think about like 2 years ago, this was torture, absolute torture, this international break, because we hadn't had a great start to the season. And we were desperate to just play some games to try and get some points under. But it's back now. Aston Villa's a good place to sort of come to, although perhaps arguably a little bit of a bogey team for Rodgers at Anfield.
Yeah, I think so. I think, look, most years I really hate the international breaks, but Henderson started against England.
Against England? Wow.
For England. Against Switzerland, was it they were playing?
And because as he said to me, are England playing tonight? Which is Monday when we're filming this. Yeah. All right. Okay, great. Yeah, totally. Like anyone gives a flying fuck about that.
Scouse, not English.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I think actually it could have been a good time for us this time, because Lallana was close to fitness before the international break. He's now got a game under his belt against Wolves. Mm-hmm. Balotelli's got another game under his belt. John Flanagan is potentially looking to be fit enough for the Aston Villa game to make the bench. So actually,
Stevie's been away on holiday.
Yeah,
it's probably not a bad time.
Southport Beach.
Yeah, pictures of him in sunny Clan.
Crosby.
Yeah. Have you been to Crosby?
Any weird statues behind them? Yeah.
So it's win-win in that respect. Yeah.
Apart from the fact that Daniel Sturridge is injured.
Daniel Sturridge is injured. Henderson picked up an injury and may aggravate it, because you can't trust Hodgson that he's fit.
Can't trust
Sturridge last year.
To do anything.
Played Sturridge last year when he was injured, and he was out for like 6 weeks after that.
The only thing you can trust Hodgson to do is if your face was a bit itchy and it needed something for it, you know what I mean? And even then I wouldn't be comfortable with the situation. I'm just saying that he's good at it. Like, it's the only thing guaranteed that he's good at, because we've seen him. He's got plenty of practice, hasn't he? Anyway, we'll come back to the game football in a moment. Trivia question time. Liverpool's biggest ever Premier League win against Aston Villa came in Liverpool's title challenging season of 2008-2009. Rafa Benitez's men put Martin O'Neill's men to the sword with a 5-0 hammering. But who out of the players that featured that day is left in the Villa side today? Liverpool beat Aston Villa 5-0 back in 2008-2009. Who of any of those players from the Villa side are still there? Let us know in the comments below.
Dave chuckling behind camera. How many extra words can I get into this one?
I'd I just couldn't imagine what your A-level essays must have been like. GCSE English, God, gets the points. Okay, yeah, Romeo and Juliet ultimately die. We'll come to the answer to that toward the end of the show. Do stay tuned for that. I know you're all dying just to not Google it and wait. Yeah, as mentioned, Jack, we were talking about this being a bit of a bogey team for Brendan Rodgers. Now, I'm not like, I mean, obviously we've had good results we've beaten at Villa Park. Yeah. We got a draw last season we snatched it from a defeat, then a draw from the jaws of victory. It was a shit game, basically. We could basically conspire against ourselves to a certain extent last season, but they've also got Christian Benteke, who's caused us nothing but problems. But can Aston Villa still cause Liverpool the same kind of problems, or has Brendan Rodgers, you think, evolved past that?
I would like to think that we will have enough, really, to be okay with this one. Villa have gone unchanged 3 times this season. They've played the same 11 players. We know that they've got a bit of pace up front. Andreas Weiman's a good player as well. They're quite handy in the midfield with the 3 lads who like to get on the ball. Simon Richardson, obviously. The fullbacks have started well, but ultimately I don't really see anything that they can pose to us that makes me think that we won't beat them. You know, and I'm quite happy to say that.
They've Aston Villa really surprised me then. I had them tipped to go down this season.
They've surprised me the last couple of seasons for being so bad.
Yeah.
You know, they've always been a decent side, and for some reason they just couldn't play at home. You know, most of their problems were at home last year and the year before. And they brought in a lot of kids, and they just didn't seem to play at home. But away from home, they've always been dangerous, and there will be a tough test at Anfield.
But we scoffed, didn't we, Chris, at the signings they'd made all through the summer. It was kind of like kept us cheered up while we were waiting for our next signing to come in. It gave us a little bit of a laugh when you see the likes of like Joe Cole, Ali, your favourite, Ali Sissoko, Philip Senderos, and that coming in. You thought, what are they doing here? They've just gone and signed mediocre Premier League experienced players. But look, I don't think you can argue. So far so good, certainly.
Yeah, it is. Much the same as Jack, though. I don't think that there's anything there for us to be afraid of. I think the one thing that we struggled the last couple of years is having that big man up front. And Benteke hounded us a couple of years ago, didn't he? And with Agbonlahor being the focus of their attack, I'm just not scared of that.
I'd be interested in what type of football they play.
Yeah, that's always dangerous for us because we do go forward quite a lot.
But we saw it because I was sat next to you, and obviously I was well documented. Chris sits behind the Liverpool dugout, and it was like Lambert last season was literally, if the defence didn't lump it to Benteke, he was flipping. He lost his shit every time someone tried to play the ball out of defence. So they played a very, very powerful, long ball, direct game against us. But I mean, the question is then, do they have the ability to do that again? I mean, will they try and play a little bit of football, Jack, do you reckon? Or
I think they'll have to, because all they've got in terms of the ability to hold it up without Benteke is pace and players who can run with the ball. I don't really see that that's a tactic they can rely on really to get the better of us at home. I don't see.
I think
that they can
last
use
season we sort of played into their hands a bit because I think it was the second game. It was the game before was the one that Gerrard reverted to the deep line role and sort of didn't play it very well when we played Villans.
Gerrard was awful in that.
That was called off at half time, wasn't it?
Yeah. And Lucas had to come on and rescue them, didn't he?
And then got injured himself.
Yeah,
Which is why it's what a disaster of a football match that was ultimately.
If you look at their front three of them, Zogby, Weimann and Agbonlahor, I don't think there's anything there that we need to be worried about.
I think there's plenty of things to be worried about, but what I mean is not in the way that Aston Villa typically worry us.
Well, that's it. Benteke used to go to the full-back, didn't he? And they just fucking lump it on him.
I feel as though there's lots to be worried about. Lots they can throw at us almost, but the one thing they've not got there is goals. Not got anything in terms of goals. I think Benteke was the top scorer last year with 13. Agbonlahor had 6. He was the second top scorer.
And 2 of them were against us in Anfield.
That's the thing they'll struggle with. Whatever they've got to face us with, they haven't got much at the sharp end.
Yeah.
Did you say Vlaar's injured as well, or is it doubt?
Doubtful.
Check the news, it looks okay, I think.
The Premier League website had him at like 75%, so you'd think he's the kind of importance he has to that back four, that he would play through the pain barrier if needs be to get back in that side.
What I want to know is whether Liverpool are going to play 4-3-3 and put Sterling on fucking Sissoko, or stick with the diamond.
Well, Sissoko's interesting because he look, at times he got absolutely nailed on the show, but I think, and we had this argument the other week, but I think by and large he came out with a decent enough reputation at the end of Liverpool. He wasn't dreadful. He was a fairly average fullback. Randomly enough, because a few of you know, I've been doing some stuff with Ball Street recently. Andy Brassel had him as his bold prediction last week to make the Premier League Team of the Year for this season.
Mental.
Slightly mental.
He's awful. There's no bones about it. He is absolutely
I don't know. I don't think he's as bad. I just don't think he's as bad as made. I don't think he's
fucking clown.
You have to go back to Deggin to find someone who was close to being that bad.
Nah, he's just not that bad. Aston Villa fans, I'd be interested to know if there's any watching. What are your thoughts on Ali Sissoko so far? Because he started all 3 games, had pretty decent performances by all accounts so far. So thoughts on that? You know, he's still a good age. He's now got a bit of Premier League experience. When he got a run of games for us when we needed him last season, I thought he did all right, particularly in the second half of the season. So I mean, look, he's not. I hope to God anyway, he's not going to be the difference maker in this match. But one player who might be actually, because we have a habit of players that we really dislike and laugh at coming back to haunt us. Tom Cleverley.
Yeah.
Let's say as little about Tom Cleverley as possible. Anyone's got any bold statements to make about Tom Cleverley, please do in the comments section below. Personally, I think actually good move for him and good move for Villa. He's been lambasted by everyone pretty much around football for his time at Man United, but I don't think he's anywhere near as bad a player again as people make out. Similar to what been said about Danny Welbeck. He's at that age that he needs a breakout season, and if he's going to play, if he can get a full season under his belt at Aston Villa, he could prove a few of the doubters wrong. So
for Cleverley, he played around some absolutely world-class players, didn't he, at his time at Man United, and I think that he should have been better for playing with those players than he actually was. We'll see now, won't we, if he's a good footballer or not, because he's probably been carried a little bit along his career.
He played through probably the period when United were going downhill, and it was disguised by the fact that Ferguson dragged them to a final title. You know, but that team were awful.
But it's funny because he's learned his trade alongside some world-class players, but sadly the same players who were playing in that position 10 years earlier learned off exactly the same players who were 10 years young, but they were 10 years younger and 10 years better at the time, you know. So he's learned off a 40-year-old Ryan Giggs as opposed to learning off a 28-year-old Ryan Giggs and a Paul Scholes who'd been dragged out of retirement, etc. But that being said, you look at Phil Neville as the perfect example of this. Not considered a great footballer by the wider footballing world, but went to Everton and looked not like a superstar, but he had he's very well respected at Everton, had a very good career at his time there because he's taken all that experience of playing around those players, and when you carry that into a side a little bit lower down the Premier League, you can actually go and be with the greatest respect to Aston Villa, which generally means I'm going to say something really offensive.
Relatively offensive.
A bigger fish in a smaller pond. You know. So maybe this is his chance to shine. I hope it just doesn't start at the weekend.
Where do you stand on Joe Cole?
Sort of off to one side, puffing for breath. Joe Cole. That was the one that provided the most entertainment value this summer, and that's all we'll say on Joe Cole. Interestingly,
we're glad now that Besic Everton has outdone him for debuts.
Yes. What a back that was.
What was he playing, that man?
Interesting note, because of course this is Liverpool Aston Villa. Let's not focus too heavily on Everton Chelsea games. 2 years ago when they beat us 3-1 at Anfield, our bench: Brad Jones, so no change there. Coates, Carra, Wisdom, Cole, Henderson, and Suso. And just to in contrast, our bench the other week against Spurs, still Jones of course, Enrique Torre, so probably not necessarily a massive improvement in that part, but then Lambert, Coutinho, Emre Can and Markovic, which makes me feel a whole lot better.
I'll have the second one, thanks.
Thanks, thanks very much. Second one, please. Yes. Okay, Lee Mason's going to be in charge of this game. Chris, Lee Mason, of course, is famous for what reason?
He was the referee that Brendan Rodgers got fined £8,000 for, because he's from Bolton, and when we played Manchester City on Boxing Day, he complained about it. Yeah. Because he's from the Greater Manchester region.
I thought the answer was going to be looks like a big baby.
He does look like a rather large baby. Yeah, it's
I like that one better.
Better. Yeah, Brendan Rodgers was of course fined £8,000 for basically insinuating that a referee from Greater Manchester was was refereeing a game with a team from Greater Manchester in it, and his remark was, who was the referee from the Whittle who doesn't?
David Ellery,
No.
Fucking
hell, David Ellery.
Shot his age there, and he fucking hell.
Was Kenneth Wolstenholme doing the commentary? No, I can't. If you can remember who the name of the referee is, I read
it. Doesn't do Liverpool games.
Yeah, but not Mike Dean. Anyway, the guy who lives over in the Wirral doesn't referee Liverpool games for that exact reason.
Is that just a stab in the dark?
So it'd be what?
Mike
Dean. I thought Mike was it Mike Dean? I don't know. Anyway, so that should be interesting. Doubtless that'll get brought up, because if we bring it up, then people who actually do proper research, doubtless going to bring it up. Adam Lallana, Chris mentioned, back in contention and he scored in that closed door friendly against Wolves as well, which is good to see. The question is, can he go straight back into the side, because he's not actually been in the side yet, or a good option to have off the bench?
I thought that if Henderson was injured, then Lallana would be a perfect swap for him. As such, I don't think he'll go straight into the side if Henderson's fit.
Well, obviously, the big question really is, with Sturridge out and out of contention for up to 3 weeks, how do Liverpool then switch it round? I mean, I'll come to you first on this. Do we stick with a diamond, or do we go back to 4-3-3?
I would like to see us stick with two up front, because I think we look better with two up front. I actually wondered whether Lallana might actually play up front.
Interesting.
Because that means that's the least disruption to the side, which has just had a good win. But
poor old Fabio Barini and Mickey Lambert sat there. Adam Lallana, who's been crocked for the entire time.
Fabio Barini's not going to get any football at Liverpool this season, because Rodgers has gone on record as saying he sort of read the horoscope to everyone, didn't he, about what would happen if this stayed and didn't go. You're not going to
I'm looking in my crystal ball. You're not in it, Fabio.
So, I mean, we could play Ricky Lambert, I suppose, but I don't see him as a 90-minute replacement for Sturridge.
But here's a point on Fabio Barini. If he's fit, he's Italian. So's Mario Balotelli. Maybe they could strike up some sort of partnership there.
I'd quite like to see in the opening Champions League game a 4-3-3 with Markovic and Barini wide of Balotelli.
Okay.
I can't see us...
But bear in mind we're talking about Aston Villa.
Yes, I can't see us doing that at the weekend at all. And
I can't see us doing that in the Champions League either, though.
No, nor can I really, but I'd like to see it. I think there's an awful lot of people who seem to be under the perception that Lambert's been brought in as some sort of super sub, and I think he's a much better player than that. What he's given Southampton over the years is much better. So, for me, I'd be keeping the shape the same and just bringing him into the team.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, is that what
exactly? Yeah, I mean, I had Lallana in Henderson's place, but if Henderson's fit, I think Lambert up front with Balotelli is the obvious way to go for me.
Yeah, Chris still reeling from having recorded a Henderson rant about him being injured only for him to start the England game.
With his mind tricks before the fucking game against Switzerland. The cunt.
He fucking hell, he Jedi'd the fuck out of you, wasn't he? I think the beauty is we've got options there. I agree. I would stick with the diamond if we can, because why change it? You're at home. You want to be on the front foot as much as possible. But I'd be happy for Lambert or Barini if he's fit to go in there, because why not? You know what I mean? You got to talk about, you need to take your chances. Barini's a finisher, isn't he? If he gets a chance, I think he's the kind of player who'll stick it away. I think there's a case to be made though that Markovic has had a little run. He actually by all accounts got very good reviews for his performance in the draw with France, on the international break as well. he could come in and maybe push Sterling up front with Balotelli. We've got options. So I think this is terrific.
I think what your dad's point was the most on point, if you will, is that we want as little disruption to the team as possible, and Sterling was so good. I'd like to see Sterling in that place behind the strikers. I think that's the important part of staying in the diamond.
Villa have sent a lot of their play from what I've seen through their fullbacks this season. Sissoko's obviously started quite well, and Hutton looks like the player they thought they were buying to begin with, I think, this season. So that'll be one area of slight concern. But then I think we saw Balotelli working really hard, didn't we, against Spurs, getting into those wide positions to cover the Spurs fullbacks. So I think we can rely on him, and Ricky Lambert as well will be.
I think it'll be very interesting to see, because I think we're actually in a I think Sturridge's injury, in an ideal world, if there is such an ideal world as losing your best centre forward, it's almost come like a game too soon. I wouldn't have minded Balotelli just having another proper Liverpool game under his belt before you're sort of saying, here's all the pressure on you to score the goals, to be the main man as a centre forward. So I think it's a big game for him, but equally, what you talk about, if Aston Villa do come and park the bus, Mario Balotelli is the exact kind of player you want in your team, because he's the kind of player who can pick the ball up randomly from 40 yards and stick it in the top bin, and that's a game-changing moment. And all of a sudden, game plans have to be changed, a defensive game plan goes out the window. So this could actually sit with him quite well. It's obviously not ideal, but as I say, what is the ideal situation when you come to losing some of the Sturridge's quality? Do you let us know your thoughts on any of that, actually? Do you think Liverpool should change the formation? Do you think we should just basically just have a straight swap, Sturridge out for someone, and if so, who is that player? Let us know in the comments.
It's funny
below.
None of us have spoken about Coutinho though, isn't it?
That is hilarious. Yeah,
it's hilarious, but I really want to wrap the show.
No,
Shut up, Chris.
It's not ha funny. Coutinho is, because the point could easily be made is you just push Sterling further forward, and Coutinho is your obvious player to come in to contention in that 10. Equally, Lallana though.
But we've been talking about Lallana coming in over, and we've not mentioned Coutinho. That's, I think, quite interesting, isn't it?
And he's been with Neymar this week, hasn't he?
Yes, yeah.
Rubbing shoulders with him. And
saw that photo on Twitter.
Yeah, I love the way that, what a slow news week, the Liverpool official website had that as like a lead story on the front page. Here's a selfie with Neymar and Coutinho. Look who Coutinho knows. Yeah,
at least they got the right sort of definition of selfie. BBC News, like, here's a selfie of Barack Obama with a family in Wales. That's not a selfie, that's a photograph with Barack Obama and the family.
If someone else has to take it for you, it's not a selfie. We shouldn't have to tell you this. We're too old. We're in our 30s now. We should know this shit.
What are the rules if it's on a timer though? Because maybe they had it on a fence post.
It's still not a selfie.
No, it's a photograph.
It's probably to take him out.
Randomly enough,
service, man.
I was in Blackpool the other week, and I was at Blackpool Town, and there was a girl tourist who had one of those sticks that you can attach your phone onto the end
of. I think Aubrey probably has one of them, you know.
And she was at Blackpool Tower doing these, and I was like, tit. just like, you brought a stick for the sole purpose of taking photographs of yourself. Have a word. Really, like, I mean, it's just genuinely though, it's like, how difficult is it? I'm sorry.
It's just not like
here's a tangent, like, but what kind of society have we become where you have to bring a stick with you rather than say to someone, excuse me, do you mind just taking a photo of me against this window? Is that alright? No, let's bring a stick along for the job.
Apparently Apple phones are the most stolen in the world, aren't they? So she probably had an iPhone, didn't she? And was scared to death of the person would just run off.
This is also an issue. Blackpool is full of some interesting people. Yeah. yeah. And also, when anyone tries it, you've got a stick to twat them with.
That's true.
Yeah, you've got a photo, an iPhone thief stick. Stick to beat them with. So maybe it's not such a stupid idea after all, so I take back the tit statement.
No, it's a stupid idea.
Just meth. Okay, score predictions. Actually, before we come to score predictions, don't forget to go to redmentv.com this week. We've got some awesome subscriber shows. We've got the Brendan Rodgers 100 special. Basically focused on the fact that Brendan Rodgers has managed 100 games for Liverpool and looking at you know, what's been right, what's been wrong, where the improvement come. But basically, it's a little bit of a Brendan love fest. So so go and check that out. We've also got a big debate on Liverpool's vice captaincy and Sepp Blatter bringing in supposed challenges for managers during the game using technology. So they're on redmentv.com. As you should know by now, it's free for a month. Come and check it out. It'll be boss. Can't say any more than that. Anyway, score predictions. Dad, how's this game going to go down?
3-1.
Okay.
3-0.
Okay.
4-0.
Fuck. Just do this. This has happened now. Used to be there, 1-0, 2-0. I go, ha 4-0. And now you just basically
How
leave
often,
me.
though, last season, did people think we'd actually get a clean sheet? It's 2 people that think we'd get a clean sheet.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's the most bold part of those predictions, not the actual goal score. 4-1. I'm going to go by a double-decker and a can of Fanta, and that's what happens. Let's go with that. Leslie, score predictions in the comments. But Leslie, thoughts on who should be starting as well for Liverpool? I know you've all hung around this far because you want to know the answer to the trivia question. Let's read the trivia question one more time if you just join us for some reason.
26 minutes into the video.
No, Liverpool's biggest ever win against Villa. It was 2018. We beat them 5-0. Name the Villa players, if any, who will remain from that side in the Villa squad today. The answer is, anyone who doesn't know? Guesses. Bonlaho, wasn't it? Gabriel Bonlaho, of course. You were right on goalkeeper.
Shelby's dad.
Yeah.
Shelby's
We've got to give him half a point for that.
Lee Mason's dad.
Guzan.
Brad Guzan, yes. You got Brad Guzan and Gabriel Bonlaho. Your Googling skills are second to none. Thanks very much for playing along. Don't forget to give the video a like and click the subscribe button in the top corner. How far off am I?
There we go.
Chris,
Whoa.
just do it again. Click the subscribe button there. Right there. Yeah. There. Just click it. Do it now. Do it. Yeah, anyway, thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to check out the subscribe shows on the redmentv.com and we'll be back with the match reaction fucking hell, Paul. Come on, so close. With the match reaction content at the weekend. Where's Chris won't, because Chris is going to do...
Die.
Chris is going to do Tough Mudder. If you don't know what that is, use your trivia answer Googling skills to find out why Chris Pejak might be coming back bald for the show next week. Anyway, thanks very much for watching and good night. So.
If we could sell him, that would just be friggin' awesome. Because he's crap. Absolutely garbage. Clown shoes. Crap. Awful. Not really a footballer. John Glenson.